Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Secret News Living in Our World. Uh, I don't know what y'all been up to, but I've had a busy week. Lots of doctor's appointments, dental appointments. Had to get some jawbone cut out from the whole lightning strike thing. So they take the teeth out and they cut out a chunk of jawbone there. So sealing up. But that's what's new with me. What's new with you? We're gonna let people trickle on in, and today these headlines are going to make you think, what has the world come to? So today, learn as you grow. How's it going? Welcome. Come on in. Come on in. Today, I just wanted to talk about some of the weird headlines that are going on. Of course, there's always weird fish headlines. I don't know why, but I want to do a recurring segment on just little sections on stuff that's going on. So you could see some of the topics in the article. So why don't I just jump right in? And to me, I'll go in reverse order of the thumbnail because that's the way I keep viewers and make all my millions. So come on in. And I hope you're having a good night. I hope that the week is almost over and you are going to have a great weekend. I know you will. Goose Not Maverick, how's it going, buddy? Fish Dreams, hello. So, just first thing on the agenda, I guess, then would be Brazilian fish smuggling. So, Brazilian fish smuggling. I feel like there's something else that's always smuggled out of South America. For the life of me, I can't remember what it is. But you'd almost think that there were established trade routes to get things out of Peru and Colombia and Ecuador. Uh, you almost think that it would be easy to smuggle things out of there. I mean, like, but on the other hand, so cocaine, it's worth about 500 bucks a kilo when you're down in, probably just demonetized my video right there. When you're down in South America. Comes up here, it's $20,000 a kilo. So it's the act of bringing it up that makes the money. Now, cocaine gets packaged really tight into bundles. They've got submarines even. So how do they smuggle fish out of Brazil? Well, the main way is that people don't know what they're looking for. So in Brazil, authorities do know what they're looking for. They're looking for plecos, catfish, wood cats, things like that, mostly stingrays, a lot of freshwater stingrays, pink dolphins, even though I don't know. Apparently that's been an issue. Someone tried to smuggle out those beautiful freaking dolphins, the little short pygmy pink dolphins, and then there's some other dolphins in the Amazon too. But they've been having problems with smuggling. So in 2016, they wanted to put the zebra pleco, I guess Imperial hypencistris is its fancier name, a zebra L0, what is it, L146, L46, L046. In any case, so they put that pleco on the CITES list, which is the most endangered stuff. So there's like the hornbill, the rhino, the Javanese rhino, which I think the last one may have just gone extinct, as well as the Laotian rhino, as well as the Chinese river dolphin. I think that's gone now too. So this list doesn't seem to be stopping things from going extinct, but I have several feelings, and please chime on in if you guys have feelings. But you know, Canada allows, for instance, CITES fish to come in, or cities, whatever you want to call it. It's an acronym. It's basically an international group that gets together and says what is and isn't legal. But they have a body that gets together, decides what is and isn't. And in Brazil, it's legal to have the zebra plecos, but outside of Brazil, it's not if they're wild caught and you're crossing international borders. Now, different countries can ignore this or whatever. I mean, it's up to other countries, but a lot of countries have signed this act and honor it. Now, the thing is, leopard plecos and zebra plecos. So you got the like the ones I have. I've got the leopard frog plecos. Those are not easy to breed in captivity. It's done and it happens, But the problem with fish like this is money, is economy, like simple economics. So if the fish is $500 for like a wild caught, beautiful adult specimen, and that's what, it seems to have topped out around 300 is what people will pay. 3 or 400 is what people will pay for an adult pleco, zebra pleco. And maybe 100 less than that for the leopard frog pleco adults. And from there on, then when they spawn, it's been really difficult to get them to spawn. They spawn in small batches. So the market kind of limits itself. We don't have, it's not like a big status thing as a culture. In other places like Taiwan or Japan or China, like arowanas, there's like, people have giant tanks in their house or in their office, and it's like a status symbol, and they'll pay thousands of dollars. And people will pay thousands of dollars here for black market arowanas also in the US. I mean, I've run into 2 people in my life that have had them, claiming that they were breeding them pre-CITES, but yeah, okay, sure. In any case, but Canada allows arowanas in the country. They just need to be bred in a facility that has paid off CITES, basically, to come there and, hired CITES, paid off, whatever you want to call it. Come in, give them a license to sell, and now, that fish is pretty much extinct in the wild. Those colors don't really exist in the wild that most people are buying. And so, arowanas are really hard to find now. They're not totally extinct or anything, but they're close, and there probably are in a lot of rivers that they once were in. So it's debatable whether, even when you're paying 5, 10, 20, there's claims that some of the arowanas have gone for $1 million in Asia, but it looks like 150,000, 200,000 is probably the max that they've gone for, from my research. I don't know. Who knows? It's a black market. I don't know. They don't really put it on, Christie's auction site. But because of that, people have been murdered. The Dragon Behind the Glass, that's a great book I recommended folks reading. But it delves into that. But back to Brazil. So the smuggling going on in Brazil, they're smuggling out these fish, and the locals are probably getting paid like $10 US for these fish. And then what they were doing is they're mostly going to small, unknown distributors that are in predominantly Peru, but also Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador. Venezuela more so to European and eastward bound locations. We don't really, we're a little more scrutinous. I don't know if that's a word. But we pay more attention to stuff coming from Venezuela because of sanctions and because of all of the boogeyman communist stuff. And don't get me wrong, like, they've got it rough down there, and the economy has been destroyed by their government and all that. But apparently even fish from Venezuela are communists and may infect our culture. But yeah, so no, okay, please don't write, because I get that the reason we're not buying stuff from them is so we don't fund the regime, because they get a payoff from everything. I get it. They're not communist fish. Okay. All right. So, but the Brazilian fish, they were building a dam that was going to destroy their habitat, yet the Brazilian government's the one who was clamoring to make this fish protected, yet in Brazil it's not protected. So weird. So people are taking boats upstream, and they even went as far in 2017 to claim that there was a new species of pleco found at one point, and they said it's a Colombian zebra pleco. Of course, it wasn't. There is the L333, but that's also, I believe, Brazilian. Maybe Uruguay might have it also. But cichlids 2-3, JK Aquatics, another EZ, hello. Rico Digao, hello. KPLLC, Pugamus Maximus, hello. Or Pugamus Maximus. How's everybody doing? Wanted to say hello. So yeah, Brazilian smuggling though. So it's interesting that that we're bringing these fish in. It takes effort and speed to get them here alive. which is different than like cocaine. So as I was joking earlier, yeah, there are tons of established cocaine trade routes that go back to the 1970s and 80s, including paid off officials at every border you can imagine. But that's not the route that these fish would probably come through, because they need to be with other fish on the life support systems that are set up in the crates for them to come through. I mean, you're not going to take a speedboat that's 140 degrees in the hull coming out of Mexico and just haul it into Southern California or Corpus Christi or something, just hauling to sell $300 fish. You need a lot of them, and probably young fish to do that, in which case you're breeding them probably, or you're going and collecting them early in the spawn season. But they don't really cluster like that. You might get 5 or 6 out of a den, which is like a hole in the wall of the river under a rock. But because of that, it kind of limits it, and also that money is not really good enough money that you would want to face a felony in, just like trading ivory. Like, it goes on, but you get a lot of money for ivory. For $300, is it worth 10 years in prison? I don't know. I don't think so for most people. In impoverished countries, definitely, but it's once they cross into the U.S., who's going to buy them other than specific individuals who may be attempting to smuggle them? And then in that case, they're probably going down there. So to me, CITES doesn't really have a huge impact with that species because it's already leveled off. It's not like people are paying crazy money for this fish. I mean, you may think $200 or $300 is crazy. It's not. It's not as far as black market things go. So that was a story that was interesting to me, that the smuggling is still going on. And yes, I mean, there's people in Mexico City, for instance, with money. There's people in Colombia increasingly with money, and all of South America. The whole world is getting richer, okay? So, yes, these developing nations do have buyers for these fish and things, but not for $300 probably. I mean, maybe in Asia, but as far as the U.S. goes, we haven't seen that for that fish. We have seen that for arowana. We've seen that for like platinum gar. We've seen it from a lot of different, things like tigers and stuff. But those are logistically insanely hard to get here, and usually involve like a crooked breeder or zoo or sanctuary. I don't know. So what do you guys think about the fact that it is illegal to import those fish? I mean, on one hand, are we saving them from extinction when we put them on the CITES list? Or in certain cases, are we making it worse because you've now limited the quantity? This is something that's already bred in captivity, but now the ones in the wild, and they're not breeding it fast enough to bring the price way down. So in the wild, you've got other ones, and unlike the arowanas, they don't need to be 5 years old or plus to start showing their magnificence. But they do need a couple years, the Plecos. But to me, the CITES thing just seems like it almost makes it worse. I think more money being spent on trying to breed them, like actually subsidizing the pet hobby and learning how to induce breeding through hormones and things like that, that might be money better spent than hiring people to enforce the laws and certify things and imports and checks. But they try to do that through an existing, what's the word? Infrastructure of police and things like that. So somebody says, let's see, I saw that. Cancer trade. I feel like over collecting for the aquarium trade probably isn't the threat to the vast majority of endangered fish. That's probably true. There are some saltwater fish that are really having a hard time because their environment, and other fish too, but I mean, they have it in maybe this fish only occurs in the Hawaiian coral reefs, and local Hawaiians will go out and use dynamite or electricity to flush them out of their holes, and they get all this crazy bycatch, and they bash the coral out, badly. So that happens. It also does happen in freshwater a little bit, like you've had some knuckleheads in weird cases. Somebody tried to steal a desert pup pupfish, what's it called? Devil's Hole desert pupfish. There's only like 80 to 300 of these fish, and they live in like a hole in Death Valley. Again, like why? I don't think that's a widespread desire. You got a knucklehead that would do that. Like, should we put them on the CITES list? I think they are actually. But to me, in cases like that, yes, we should make it clear like that those places should be protected. But if it's occurring throughout a region, and I don't know, I just yeah. Someone else said another easy. Or another the Z. Sorry, maybe I read that wrong. I support it being illegal. Invest in trying to breed in captivity. Well, you've got another. That's a good point. I'm really torn on the issue. I haven't formed like a solid opinion. So if you want to chew me out, that's fine. But I don't really. I'm not sticking to my guns as a solid answer. So you'd be chewing me out for something I don't care very passionately about. I might just be like, you're right. But it's food for thought, and I always think about it when they put another species that we keep in the hobby on that list. Now, I do support things like, well, no, I don't know. So let's talk about another one that's been in the news. Snakehead fish. There are a ton of different species of snakeheads, and they're really, really beautiful labyrinth fish. They can breathe air, and they can kind of walk on land a little bit, so that makes them kind of a pain in the butt when they get out of a pond and then they hop into a river and all that. Peter, what's up, man? How's it going, mate? One of my favorite blokes on the channel. No offense to all you other losers. No, I'm just kidding. Cancer Train, like, do people really want wild-caught Asian arowanas? I'd say some hardcore hobbyists would want, but most other people want fancy designer colors. Yeah, I totally. Oh my gosh, come on. Sorry guys, sorry about that. Yeah, some people do. Yeah, Chana Barca. Yeah, the Chana snakeheads. There's a whole group of fish that got banned because of like 3 kinds that people eat and get big, and then they like escape and ruin the ecosystem, that is really unfortunate. It's a bummer, and maybe that's the price we pay, because like, does your need to have a fish in your house, your want, I should say, trump the fact that those fish have gotten out into the wild? Now, I do want to say, I don't want to get all racist here, but there are enclaves of cultures, and this happens with invasive species. This happens with a bunch of English, like starlings. I mean, we're not supposed to have starlings or certain pigeons or squirrels in the U.S., but some British duke or count thought it was a good idea to bring the things over so they could have a taste of home and just let them go. And now starlings are ruining my roof. No offense to the birds, they can't help it. But yeah, so I mean, it's just kind of I don't know if banning the animals is always the best thing. Also, I just think that creates a black market a lot of times. In Washington State, weed's legal now. You can smoke trees all day long if you want. And what's happened? Price of weed. It took a bit, but finally, now that the taxes and the growing and everything settled down and people aren't so crazy, you can get an ounce of really good weed here for like $50 to $100 or something like that. Maybe $100 is more fair. And the wholesale is going way cheaper than that. So sometimes I think like it's just like bootlegging, when back then it was $20 to $100 for a bottle of whiskey made a proper way in the 20s. And that's not adjusted for inflation. That's, so I mean, up to $1,000 or a couple thousand for a nice bottle of whiskey. So would that have happened if it wasn't illegal? So yeah. KPLLC, that's why people hate starlings. Yeah, well, so the other thing about starlings, side tangent here, guys, but it is educational, kind of historical, and secret? Okay. So starlings were brought over, but starlings were used widespread in Eurasia by Genghis Khan's men, and probably earlier by the Chinese, but not for sure confirmed. But what they would do is they would tie pitch and oil, they would tie a little string around the leg of the starling, and they would light this pitch and oil or resin on fire, and then they would let the starlings go, and at night, right at dusk, They all go just like bats to the eave of houses. And in Asia, particularly certain parts of Asia, India, at the time they had straw or thatch roof houses, sod houses. Certain houses, like a sod house, isn't going to burn very well. But in Japan, for instance, everything will burn. Not that this was used in Japan, but China it was used in, and throughout Eurasia. So the Mongolians, the Mongol hordes would tie fire on these birds and send them out to go roost, and it worked to some degree. It started fires in cities that used to burn down very easily. But just a random starling comment, and why starlings throughout history have been loved and hated. They have a really weird history, by the way. So apparently Australia has a starling problem also, huh? Yeah, I had starlings nesting up in this corner outside of my building, and we could hear every spring the babies going cheep cheep and like rustling around. It sounded like the wall was like shaking and coming alive, like they were gonna bust through it any minute. But they had gotten under the metal awning and under a shingle, and then like somehow picked away a hole into the eave of the house, and there was a couple of starlings there. So when they re-roofed the house in frickin' sheet metal, which is something they did that I hate around here, because it makes my apartment get really hot. Like today it's, I don't know, 75 or 80, and it's like 10 degrees hotter in here as always. So, and stuffy and humid, but the humidity is my fault. Don't tell my wife. So, but yeah, so the starlings, they were living in my roof, and we have these former Soviet Union fellas who come and fix up our building, and I was like, hey, so my wife was wondering if you could get the baby birds out of the nest there and then patch it up so that we don't have to deal with them like ripping apart our insulation and the noise they make 24/7 with their babies. And they seem to have like two or three even sets of babies throughout the spring all the way into the fall. It's ridiculous. But he's like, yeah, we take care of problem. And I was like, okay, cool. But she wants me to take them to a pet sanctuary because, you know, we like animals. We don't want to poison them or anything. So if they're not in there, just board it up. He's like, okay, I take care of. And so he comes down, and I'm inside, and I can still hear the birds. And I'm like, so what happened? Oh, I take care of birds. So he just locked them in there. It's on the 3rd floor. I can't get up there. I can't do anything about it. So he says, I come back. Never came back. But he thought at first that I wanted them because I wanted to eat them. But then when I told him that I wanted to set them free, he was like, no. So, yeah, to him it was like either food or kill them. I'm talking about starlings living in the roof of my house because we got on an invasive species tangent. Back to fish, though, on that note, on that weird note. Okay, so what else was I saying? Glofish Bettas. So, what do you guys think? It has been announced that they've done it a year ago, actually, but that the Glofish Corporation, now based in Texas, yes, I think it was a Singaporean or Chinese guy. Hold on. One word, why? Yeah. Hold on one sec. I've got my computer here and I want to have the right information. Okay, so Glofish Bettas. So I think they're going to release them in every color possible. Sounds like that. And I'm just curious what you guys think about Glofish. My main issue, I know if you're in California, you're not supposed to have them, although they sell them there anyways, just like every other thing in the world that's black market. They're probably worth more in California for that matter. But Glofish, so they're not injected, they're not dyed, they are actually bred in. Grey One Wa, hello. Rochelle Dingra, hello. Dindra, I hope I'm saying that right, I don't know. Yeah, Yeah, she said because Bettas aren't colorful enough already. Yeah, right. I know. And so I don't know. You can't find anything about starlings being used to catch houses on fire. You will if you keep looking. I promise you. Swallows, sparrows, lots of birds have been used for that. Bats were actually used in World War II. They spent a whole bunch of money on bats because they thought they could turn them into bombs. Um, Ooh, aqua balls. I got 4 new African leaf fish. I like those fish. Which species? The spotted one or the striped chocolate one or which kind? Um, Somebody Cichlids 23 says I gave up glow sticks in the 90s. I know, right? Don't you? I feel like glowfish just came at the wrong time. They were invented in 1999. Let me make sure I got the name of the guy right who invented them. But basically, they were invented for an awesome reason. And if they still had this functionality, I'd want glowfish. So the idea was at a university was that they were going to put jellyfish, glow in the dark jellyfish protein into zebra danios and also um, into rice fish, Medaka fish. And yes, it's very amazing. I agree. Johnny Boy Mick. Uh, they have a very interesting scientific value. I agree. So they wanted to make them 1997. They started, I think, 1999. They figured it out. It was pretty quick. And they put a protein in them, and they were trying to actually detect estrogen and plastics that synthetically reproduce the effects of estrogen and hormones in the wild. Also things like birth control that gets flushed down the toilet and through urine and whatever. If people throw their pills away, you get the picture. But yeah, so they wanted the fish to turn fluorescent when it was in the presence of these things, which I think would have been freaking awesome. Even if it just did it once, like even if it just tripped the levels in their system, caused them to glow, it would be like Blinky from The Simpsons or something. Like, I don't know, it'd be like, oh, that fish not safe, that pond not safe. And if it were something innocuous like a guppy or whatever that doesn't tend to just ruin the most places, I know there's some islands that's not true, but guppies don't tend to ruin the yeah the ecology. But yeah, so they were invented for that reason, and then later they were the Medaka rice fish was found to be a better than the Danio. Danios are kind of nippy, they're kind of fast, hard to catch, whatever. Medaka rice fish, daisy rice fish, things like that, easier. And they sold them in Taiwan first, just the Medakas with a green and yellow variant, and those sold. I think they sold like 100,000 of them in the first year, and then by the next year it was like 1 million of them. So they are, in concept, they're cool. I like the red Danios. I do. I think they look cool. The purple Danios, I think they look cool. It's just, to me, it's a little too much of a gimmick. It's like kitschy in your house. The other thing that's really weird about glowfish is legally they are a patented organism, or at least the alteration to their genes is. And that's a huge slippery slope. There's been really interesting stuff done about, for instance, this woman who they used her genes for a bunch of studies, her stem cells, and they cloned them and they replicated them and they used her genome for like 30 years in all these different studies, and nobody ever asked her if that was okay. They just had this sample from something, maybe it was, I don't remember, but look, you can look that up. That's off track, but it brings up the whole fact of, do we own our genetic code? Do we own the fish we breed? Like when you have a strain, they don't let you go out and patent that strain of Endler. I mean, you could trademark it maybe, but they don't let you patent it in the U.S. However, this guy fought for it. He spent big money. This guy in Texas bought out the Asian company that this professor was working on, And throughout the aughts, I think 2003 or 4 was when they were launched in the U.S. And now they've got all sorts. Now they've got Henrietta Lacks. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Um, who said that? The ice chinchilla. I like that. The cool chinchilla. I love the Danios. Can't do without them. Not glow ones, though. Yeah, I understand. Another easy. Another Z. Man, I always read that wrong. Glowfish are awesome concept, but they only do small species so far. I'd rather have a glow-in-the-dark Oscar Blackwater species would look epic. Yeah, the other thing is, I've never owned a glowfish. Do you guys know? I mean, I know they're kind of bright and everything, but do they actually glow in the dark without UV light or charging? Or do they, or like, how does that work? I don't honestly know. But to me, it just feels like the little scuba diver and the chest, which is fine. If you want to go, I think you need a black light for the glowfish. And so they've got like a glow light that's branded and all this crap to make them really stand out. Which to me, actually, there's a lot of fish that have UV reflective properties. And most fish have iridophores in their scales, which are like little crystals that's what makes fish silver and sparkly. The whole point is to scatter UV light to confuse predators. So that's kind of interesting. But we don't see those wavelengths, so it just looks like sparkly white shimmers to us, or iridescence. No, Henrietta, I believe that's totally correct. Henrietta Lacks, she did die in the 50s, I think, and her family later contested that. I think that's the person that we're still actually, there's still samples going around. Because certain cells don't, you can replicate certain cells, like stem cells, over and over and over for projects, and just keep them going by synthetically giving them the hormones and things that they need. We do that when you're cloning plants. You, like a plant, oftentimes, it may have been like the Iguazu 2009 sword plant. Like that was a specific, hi honey, that was a specific sword plant variation that was very pretty, people want, and yeah, it's been sought after, and so it's been cloned. It's been cut off. With plants, it's a little more, plants and mushrooms, it's a little more straightforward because you're like, okay, well, I can cut it and then it grows. But a human, you don't cut the human in half or fish in half. But I don't know. I'm just interested that they're going to do glowfish bettas because, like, they're already so beautiful and people are already breeding them in so many ways that, I don't know, I just feel like a black light on your betta tank. Here's my main problem with it, and that is that it's going to encourage a whole new generation of uninformed people to buy fish and put them in a crappy little cup with like a blacklight poster and like whatever Lisa Frank stuff under the light for their kids' room. If people are taking care of them fine, great, cool. I've seen some campy fish tanks that I really like. Somebody did like a totally like Flintstones looking tank that everything in it was like plastic and or acrylic or whatever, and it all looked fake, or I mean nothing organic about it, nothing natural about it. I'm drawn to tanks that look natural, but I guess I can see the appeal of doing a tank in a totally sci-fi way, but to me, or you know, sci-fi or fantasy or cartoony way, like a SpongeBob tank or something. But for me, I like all of the plants to be in there to be real, as long as it's not goldfish or a fish that's going to eat them all, because it helps level out the tank, it helps the happiness of the fish, it helps the fish breed. There's so many reasons. And I just feel like those glowfish tanks are usually set up in a way that's like no, what do you want to call it? No care to the ecosystem of the tank. Now that's not everybody, but I've just seen it a lot at local fish stores, and you see the kit and you're like, oh, they're just trying to sell them filter packs, and like the fish don't live as long and blah blah blah. The other thing is they're more susceptible to certain disorders. But it is really fascinating because they've come out with new colors and species. You know, I wish they would give up the whole glow thing. Like, they do stand out, but I would love to just see, why not do a neon tetra that's, I mean, they do black neon tetras and they make them different colors, but why not do, you know, just a beautiful blue and metallic or something, like genes from another fish maybe. With, I don't know, it just, to me, that would be interesting and maybe go better. It's also, people have problems with, like, what's it called? Like parrot, you know, flower horns, things like that. I don't know. I think it's fine to mix species if you're just doing it in your place and you're not going to release them into the wild. But if you're in Florida or something and you're mixing, like, you know, shovel-nosed catfish with red-tail catfish or giraffe catfish, and then you're letting them go, or you get hit by a hurricane and it gets out of your pool or your pond, now we have red-tail catfish in Miami, and now we have giraffe catfish in Miami. I went down there. I saw for myself ones that they had collected. I still need to release that video. But yeah, the universities in the area have come together, and it's crazy to see the stuff they pull out of Florida places. So I'm sure there are many regions where that is, you know, a possibility, you know, in Asia, for instance, in China, southern China, that's probably like in Shenzhen, it's a huge city. There's like, what, 30 million people in the area, 40 million people in the area if you count it. And then if you run over to Hong Kong, there's another 6 or 7 million people, and then Macau, another 3 million people or something. So I mean, there's like, what, 50 million people within 100 miles in every direction of there. And all these people buy pets and stuff, and some of these regions can support the fish in the wild. I mean, their water's too polluted probably at this point, but yeah. Somebody brought up an interesting fact, which is, yeah, go buy a scorpion. A lot of insects glow in the dark, or get a black light and a cat and go sit in the kitty litter box, because that'll glow in the dark too. They don't glow in the dark. They luminesce under UV light, I should say. Crystals, Pets, and Plants, hello. Nola Jane, hello. Yeah, I agree, Nola Jane. Something about it does feel a little bit tacky. Parenting seem like slippery slope of badness. Oh, patenting genetics. Yeah, I agree, Ginger. Oh, and by the way, so Ginger let me know that the Ranchu Goldfish shirt that I had on the Teespring site, there's links to that in other videos. I haven't put it in this video. I'll add it later. If you're curious about all the merch of my illustrations, I've got some steampunk style fish artwork, and then I've also got realistic, I'd say semi-realistic, pretty realistic. You'd find it in like a trail guide, like that level of realism book of illustrations. And they're on all sorts of stuff in different colors. And she got the Ranchu Goldfish, and the back of it had an issue where it was printed. You could see the white area, which I saved everything as PNGs, but there must have been a little color that I couldn't see on the monitor there that I didn't get rid of. So I went and checked, and so if anybody has any problems, let me know. Everyone else so far has been like, no, I'm happy with them. They fit. I've heard that the women's sizes are slightly small for the average, like they fit a little bit tighter than normal, so go a size up if you're debating what size to get. But yeah, so it's kind of hard because I don't get to control quality with Teespring, and they get the majority of the profit. I get like, depending on the item, I think the lowest profit I have is like $3, and the highest on one of the hoodies and the leggings I get like $8.20 or something like that. But yeah, so if you have an issue, please let me know. Yeah, I agree. They make too much money off the glowfish. They're not going anywhere. Oh, JK Aquatics going to acclimate fish. Nice. Dylan Martin, hello. Chara Dreamer, Florida's Florida is the world's largest community tank, for real. Let's see here. The 186 element. What's up? How's it going? Yeah, it is almost firefly season, right? Or is it in some places? I know it's late summer in some spots, spring in others. But yeah. Dylan Martin's asking, anyone know where I can get a cheap aquarium stand that has a cabinet built in? You go to IKEA, you buy a cabinet, then you go get cinder blocks at Home Depot, and you put 4x4s or 2x4s, depending on how big the tank is, and you do the cinder block method around that, and then you get veneer and you cut that to size. And no, that's I've done that in several cases, so you could do that. And there's lots of videos on how to do 2x4, how to do cinder block and 2x4 racks or stands. But basically, you can, in the center of that or under that, you could insert an IKEA, which is too flimsy to hold most tanks. Maybe a 10-gallon I'd trust on there. Maybe a 20 depending on the product, but wood pegs and DIY assembly. Trust what you will, depending on what it. I would put half as much as it says it holds on there. But yeah, I mean, I spent maybe $25 for the setup I have downstairs on that 40-gallon tank, and I have storage under it. So that's just not 2x4s. They're offcut pine boards on the front that I just stacked, and they're just held in with pressure. I cut the top one perfectly to pressure it in. And then, as far as stands go, yeah, they are a scam. I would get one of. You can also go to Home Depot and look at like their food carts and stuff, like their wire grade stainless steel food stuff. Just look at what it's supposed to hold at Home Depot. I went through this rigmarole to figure this out, but Home Depot, whatever they're selling something to hold, it holds another 75% above that. So almost double what it says it will hold, it will at least temporarily hold in the stress tests. And then that's the number they set. So if you keep below that number, you should be fine. But yeah, I mean, the cinder block and plywood method is dirt cheap. A cinder block's like less than $1 sometimes, maybe $2-3. And then the 2x4s, 36 inches of them, you get a 9-foot or an 8-foot one and cut it as needed. And then just put a cabinet that looks nice underneath that and hide the cinder blocks, or make a veneer for the whole thing. That's what I would do if I was on a budget. That being said, Oak, like go to OfferUp or Craigslist, wherever, all the spots, Facebook Marketplace, and look for like heavy duty oak or pine wood construction, not IKEA stuff, or Dania or any of the like Bauhaus modernist stuff. I'd just be careful. A lot of it isn't. Structural integrity is not its main focus, because most things are not holding a ton of weight. Like, what do we have in our houses that's as heavy as a fish tank? Like, per volume, not a whole lot. On that note, I feel like I've been talking a lot. Look at this little guy go. Hold on. Of course, he's leaving as I... Come on. Weird. It's like switching it was switching cameras to me. All right. So, yeah, the cast iron stands, you can get those also. Here's a nice looking koi. So, this is interesting that my hybrid cribs... ew, what the heck is that? My hybrid cribs, the males, half have stripes, half don't. And they all have pink bellies. So this means he is probably spawning again, this one, since he's got the pink belly. The other ones don't tend to keep the pink belly, the males, unless they're doing a spawning dance. Also, my lemon plecos, these aren't albino. These guys are like as yellow can be, almost orange. And then I also have albino ones in here too somewhere. But I need to make room for different fish. So like here's another small, let's see, is this a male or a female? It's a male. Another male, he's got a line but no pink belly, no leopard spotting. He's pretty boring. He's probably he's definitely not the alpha male or ever even trying to get into that slot. This tank, there's a lot of room in it, but the moss is growing so thick, I need to cut it all back densely because now it looks like there is, it looks like there's no room for fish. So yeah, the Ember Tetras, they look really nice still with the kitty Tetras that I got at Aquatic Arts. There's this weird Rasbora that I can't find the name of, and I bought him thinking that's a weird looking Rasbora as it was advertised, and apparently they're solitary Rasbora. I bought 3 of them, and yeah, they didn't want anything to do with each other. So there's those kitty Tetras I was talking about. In my tank with all this plant life and stuff, they didn't do this when they were in the quarantine tank, but in the plant tank, they've colored up like crazy beautifully. Is he gonna come out? Is he gonna come out? My algae eater. They've colored up really beautifully. Uh-oh, that one has a bite mark. I don't know. I'll have to inspect that closer. That's not good, guys. That's really odd. That's either some sort of bacterial infection or he could have gotten nipped by the evil master of the tank, who actually has some ladies coming his way. He has some dusky blue angelfish coming his way. So they're like blue panda angelfish, I guess would be their name. He's very creepy. He has blood red eyes, and he has a super bad attitude about life. Oh yeah, so here's the albino, the total albino Plecos, and this gal is like a year old now, so I don't know. She's still really small. It's interesting, but yeah, and also the Laganandra miboldi pink out of Europe. It looks really good. It's not turning red like some do. It's still very subtly metallic pink, which is what I wanted from the strain when I got it from Han Aquatics. Here's another little gal, I think. Is this a gal or a guy? I can't tell right now. Oh, it's a guy. But yeah, so there's like 4 males, 4 females in here. I don't know how that happened. In here, no liquid ferts, just too many fish and some crushed coral. I have used liquid ferts in the past in here. I've tried Easy Green, that caused an algae outbreak. And then I've also used, oh, there's a female. Finally a female comes out. I've also used ADAs, and I'll use that occasionally. But really, this tank is nowhere near where it needs to be as far as fertilizing goes. If I fertilize it, it just grows so freaking fast. And I have a lot of Anubias and Bucephalandra growing on these shelves that I've put in around the edges of the tanks and in the back of the tank. And all of this stuff is just wood covered in plants and moss. All of the wood back there is also. So yeah. If you're having an issue with algae, I have a couple videos on that. Also, I love these reed tetras. They're really boring looking bodies. I'm sure Glofish will probably fix that one for us. But they school so nicely, and they're really cheap. They're like $1.99 each. But they school so well with the glow tetra. No, with the ember tetras. And also, they do really well with the TW Chisholm. How's it going? Welcome. So yeah, so that tank's doing pretty good. The other thing I was going to talk about is the two-headed fish. So before I leave my computer over here real quick, you guys probably saw it in the description, but da-da! Two-headed fish. There have been 3 stories on two-headed fish as of late. So this was the most recent one. This woman caught a trout, a lake trout, I believe, and it had 2 heads. There are just a lot of weird two-headed fish. Now, there's 2 ways that this happens. 3 ways, actually. It could be a chimera, which means it has the DNA of 2 different fish in the embryo. It was meant to be a twin, and it split off. That's how that happens in people, too. This was in Lake Champlain, New York, so I don't think the Japanese meltdown caused it, but that can happen. Usually the defects are not as comical or interesting as this. Usually defects from radiation, stuff like that, are just like dead fish or, yeah. But estrogen and plastics, on the other hand, they have some crazy stuff. But yeah, uh, let's see here. So yeah. Oh, there's a weird looking fish. That one has. That's a gar. It's got two bodies, one head, two fish, one cup. Sorry, I had to say it. Here's my Dr. Pepper. No, yeah, I've seen the birthday cake Dr. Pepper. I like the dark cherry. Anything else seems a little too sacrilege. Also, I wanted to point out something in this tank that gives me the heebie-jeebies, and maybe one of you will have this problem. So it's the same with the African clawed frog that has its frickin' babies come out of the pods in its back, or maybe that's not that. Whatever frog that is. But it creeps me out. So these creep me out. I don't know why. I just don't like it. The fact that they embed into the friggin' like side of things, I just don't like. This is not a beams work light. Last video I think I discussed it, but it's a twin star light. I have a link to it. This is a twin star AE 600. So that's the bright twin star, and you can see the Lagonandra red, which live streaming, it never looks anything like real life. It's always faded colors. But if that's a red tiger lily, you can see the Lagonandra has a really cool pattern on it. And the freshwater sponge died, but it had a new buddy appear for a while, and then that died too. Also, my L333's chilling back here. He's just so young that I've left him up here. Yeah, the nearite snail eggs, I know that's what they are, but it just creeps me out. I don't know, something about it. Also, here's those giant algae eating shrimp. They're doing really good. These are those short-nosed Japanese ones from Aquatic Arts. They turn all different colors depending on what tank I put them in and what plants they're hanging out on. Yeah, I have tryptophobia. Yes, that's the fear of holes, right? Like to look at like bot flies or tsetse flies coming out of someone's skin, like it, I'm transfixed by it, but it's like watching a train wreck. Like it gives me the heebie-jeebies. Yeah, let's see here. Surprisingly, Chernobyl, somebody brought up Chernobyl fish, and surprisingly the animals and life in Chernobyl is doing really well. The wilderness has reclaimed the area. It's interesting. We'll see long term, but you know, animals only need to reproduce. They don't need to get to old age. In fact, that is a hindrance to a lot of herd animals and things. Yeah. Um, TW, I have one near it, and I swear it has covered pretty large driftwood with eggs. Yeah, they look embedded in the driftwood. Totally. That's what I don't like about it. That's what gives me the heebie-jeebies. Like this part right here. I hate it. Let's get a close-up of what I don't like. And I don't know why. I can't tell you. It's like one of those ASMR things. You just don't... It just gives you feels. But yeah, they're like embedded in the wood. And this guy's gone nuts, or gal's gone nuts, and put so many out. And they're never going to hatch. Luckily, they're full of calcium and protein for the other fish. But you can see here where it's just like bedazzled the side of the tank where it can't get any closer to the sidewall. But that's the culprit right there. This red one is the one that does it all the time. Yeah. All right, let's see here. Ever had those short-nosed shrimp reproduce? Not yet, although one is buried in this tank right now. So I'm really curious to see, like, here's another one here. And she's got a saddle. You see that? Oh, wait, does she have berries now? Is this the... This might be the other gal that has... That was saddled and now has berries. Let's see here. Those look like berries to me. She looks pregnant. All right, well, I will let you know how that turns out. Yeah, look at that. Interesting that you ask that right as I'm finding the shrimp. Yes, definitely. I can confirm it now. Sorry about this crazy close-up zoom that doesn't work very well on the live stream. I need a better camera. I just can't afford it. Sorry, guys. Come on. Ow. Here we go. Here we go. All right, yes. Those are rows of eggs for sure. And they seem to be developing. I can see little dudes in there. So we'll see. They're not supposed to be very good at breeding in captivity. We shall see. This tank is shrimp magic as far as 4 species of shrimp, and they all reproduce frequently, like to the point where there's too many reproducing. The blues have stopped reproducing as much, the neocardinas, but the galaxy shrimp and the Malawa shrimp just, I mean, these Malawas reproduce like there's no tomorrow. The Danios also, they've been laying eggs. The gold ring tin winnies. I wish these guys would lay, but I'm sure they'd get eaten immediately. Their babies are like small as infusoria. So I'm probably going to pull some of those aside and try to breed them. That would be my smallest successful fish ever. I mean, there's only like 3 fish smaller in the hobby, really. Oh, there's an erythromicron that never comes out. The panda loach is hanging out back there. Everybody's coming out today. I guess everybody's hungry. And then this tank, it has CO2 hooked up, but no CO2 is coming out. The bottle's empty. So this is all just due to the light. This light being really strong. And then aqua soil, which I went over in a recent video. And then the fish load's relatively heavy, even though it may not look insanely heavy. There's lots of teeny fish, but that keeps the nitrogen up. And then the minerals are in were laid in the powder, and then also equilibrium. And yeah, so this tank, it is getting, the soil is breaking down. It is stratifying. It's not soil, it's ADA Amazonia, but so far it's still holding together, and the plants seem to be growing fine. I need to cut them. They're out of control. You can't even tell what the heck my aquascape was supposed to look like. Yeah, thanks 186 Element. This is a favorite tank of mine. Neorites. Yeah, you can breed neorites in captivity. You just have to have brackish and salt water, and 2 tanks to do it. They do it en masse, but it's just you have to switch over the water as the larvae migrate. And I don't know. They did it at University of Florida. Kind of like, sorry, this is making everyone sick. I'm sorry. Yeah, I like those guppies too. The last thing I was going to talk about on the list was the 2-headed fish. So, other than that, I was just going to show you guys. I'm going to be cutting all of this down. If I lose you, I'm sorry. I love you. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. My wife's packing for a camping trip and sounds very frustrated. Are you okay, honey? What's going on, honey bear?
I'm packing.
Is it going well?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
How many things do you need camping?
You or me?
General.
My wife... Oh, I should show you this just real quickly. Can I extend upstairs to even show them, like... Let's see here. Alright, hold on. All that stuff. I'm so lazy. All that plus whatever the heck What are you packing in here? More bags. That's all going for 2 nights. 2 nights? That's all going for 2 nights camping with her. I'm staying here. I've got a wedding that I'm photographing. So yeah. Alright. Back to that. Yeah, it is glamping. They bring like a blender and these girls get together for every year they do it. Alright. It's car camping, so. Back to the fish. Okay. So the fish. In here, this is the stuff I use as for my tanks that I now used to use Easy Green. Kept getting algae blooms. I just don't want to monkey with it, so I don't. So I use this. I use the green Brighty mineral. It's too expensive. It's like 17 bucks for this thing, and you blow through it quickly. It says to use it daily. Don't. Use it every 2 or 3 days, and you're fine. It's a pump per 10 gallons, I think. Let's see here. The shrimp, they're all doing well in Shrimptopia. Lots of mulm on the bottom that they like. They breed more when there's mulm. Interestingly enough, the chameleon bivaltes, they're turning blue. Like, they're having a general jade green, like not a strong blue color, but a general blue color. And then the gold line neocaradinas that are yellow, they're doing well. The solid gold sakura are awesome. And the bivaltes are swimming around as always. They swim a lot. There's a pregnant female right there. Oh wait, no, she's not pregnant. And then the crystal shrimp all hang out on this limestone rock. So I think they like the TDS higher, and I think it's all on this rock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, they're mostly hanging out on that rock most times when I check on them. There's the oddball that'll be like somewhere up in here sometimes, but yeah. And this is all just floating. I clean up this every once in a while with a turkey baster. I just give them lots of surface area. There's all these broken pieces of glass and stuff in here. It's all just surface area for the babies that are all over. So, yeah. And then in here, Fraggle Rock or something, there's this craziness. The shrimp are still alive in here. These are more Caridina oddballs, some wild form of Caridina. But, and my sponge filter, it looks like Cousin It. The Nuri, Crypt Nuris are all doing really well. All the different kinds I have. They're not growing tall or anything, but that's fine. The Bumblebee Gobies, they're doing well. They're just hanging out. I have been worried the high temperatures here. We don't have AC in Seattle, and the high temperatures are really screwing with my fish. So when it's 80 out, all I can do is like add cool water to the tank. Also, I even brought in more of my other fish. And then I have the tiger endlers, leopard endlers, and the big old plecos. And then this tank I need to tackle next. I need to trim it all up. It needs a big trimming. Oh, hey.
How's the fishes?
Hey, look, we have a surprise
How's the
visitor.
viewers?
This is Ben,
Oh, don't let me advertise.
also known as Shirtless Ben.
Oh,
Is
not
that,
shirtless,
is that
sorry.
Donut Factory?
Yeah.
Like out of Linwood?
Well, these are from the U District one. But yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they had one. Oh, boy.
Oh boy.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't like this box. The half boxes are better.
Wow.
Look, they have the Homer Simpson donut.
They do. We were just
Okay.
talking about the three-eyed fish, Blinky, from The Simpsons.
Oh man, that is a very early Faithful episode.
Yes.
Part of the reference that it's Hanford they're talking about, right?
Yes, Hanford here in Washington State. We were just talking about somebody caught a trout with 2 heads. And I was saying that could be... I do use the frozen water bottle technique 186 element. For those curious, I'll actually use alcohol sometimes, denatured alcohol, screw it on there real tight, put it in the freezer. If I were at my parents' house like I used to be, I would freeze that thing down to like a deep freeze, not just a normal freezer. And then I would throw those in the fish tank in the corner of like a 40 breeder. Now, You have to be careful. Watch I have a digital thermometer that would beep if it got to a certain point. Also, I wanted to show you guys the Kabamba Furcata in this tank is looking wicked. It looks so beautiful.
Pretty.
And it's closing up
You
for the
have
night.
more light in your tank. See, I can't get my colors to pop like yours do.
Yeah, and they don't show up well on this live stream sometimes.
That's so true. This camera just doesn't do
pastel-y
the
or-
justice.
Well, it kicks me down to only 20,000 colors instead of like 4 million or whatever.
I don't know. I mean, life is like reality.
Yeah,
Videos are still.
videos, yes.
Yeah.
And then some albino longfin fancy plecos are in here.
Oh yeah, I love those fancy Plecos.
All my Danios are in here.
It looked like my albino Corridora for a second. I love them.
Yeah, I don't have any of those anymore, but I do have lots of these guys.
Did you see my
in
my
here.
thoracic brace here?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh wow. So Ben can no
Last
longer
time you
make
saw me.
appearances as shirtless Ben.
He's not for a bit. It's gonna kill the summer for me, right?
Ben broke his back, so
Yeah, on my own in my own bed. You can do it too, but you don't want to.
it sounds bad.
It's not fun. Yeah.
You
I
weren't
just had an
you
MRI
you
this
literally
morning.
weren't having fun when you broke your back in bed. It was not anything
I was
sorted
unconscious
or
and I didn't remember it, except I do remember screaming about how much it hurt.
Ben had a seizure unfortunately and broke his own back because of the force of his muscles because he bikes and works out and does physical job all the time, and so
Yeah.
he was strong enough to break his own back apparently by compression fracturing his spine.
Yeah, mostly just the end plates, but I lost like over 2 inches in like maybe 10-15 seconds.
Yeah, that's kind of like my back. I used to be over 6 feet tall, and now I'm not.
This Corridora, is it stir-by?
Yeah.
It's just so chill.
There's a
Makes me
stir-by.
miss the stir-by you gave me that we named Tom York.
Yeah, who had the
Old-
screwed up eye.
Old surly in one eye.
I have some stir-bys that are crossed with
Those are really
Trilineatus also.
Those are really
So
pretty.
they have like a maze pattern and the gold front fins. And then lots of cories. We've got the sail fin, the new panda cories, and then we've got these old panda cories. They're all just hanging out, doing their thing. Up here we have my Honduran red points. They're so mean. They eat everything. They'll try to eat each other, and they're big. Let's see here. What I've noticed, lean towards Caridina parameters. Yeah, exactly. Somebody said if you lean towards Caridina parameters like crystal shrimp or Taiwan bee shrimp, you can easily throw in. You can easily, very very easily throw in just normal. All right, Ben.
Have a good cast.
And you can easily allow them to be in there too. Just throw in your Neocaradinas. Same with the Babaltis. Apparently they're supposed to be really easy. My number... Okay, I have 2 things to say before I log off because apparently Ben didn't know that was going to happen. But I love me some Ben. So, basically, for shrimp keeping, I always tell people, keep it simple, stupid. No. Keep it simple. Just less things to go wrong. Don't put chemicals, like if there's if 2 shrimp die, don't freak out and do 50% water change and move them around and clean everything in their tank or whatever. Just chill. Unless like more than 20% of your shrimp, over 10 shrimp. So assuming you have 10 shrimp, if 2 die, don't freak out. If more than that die, then there might be something going on if it's within a day or 2. But, really you need to know how the health of the colony is. And to really have a stable colony, there is a filter in this room that is driving me freaking mad. Hold on one sec, guys. The second thing I was going to say about the... Oh, that's better. It's better. Can you hear that? It's better. About the shrimp is don't worry about the parameters and the water. Don't worry about all that stuff as much as people do for Neocaridina. Just don't. I have them living outside in, right now it's 80 degrees water, It was 58 degrees the other morning. I mean, they're doing they'll do okay. Yeah, I got Honduran red points. I've actually had the Honduran red points DS aquarium. Um, I've actually had those puppies for a long time. I have had those since the beginning of the year. They were little eyelash-sized fish that I grew in here in my Blue Dream Neocaridina. And also, I want to report that I have watched these guys for an hour a day. As I said in my Fish and Mental Health, which got demonetized, apparently the word mental health is not appealing at all to sponsors. Not even like all those drug manufacturers that always talk about that crap. So to me, I don't know, that's frustrating that they automatically, without reviewing it and whatever, unless it has 1,000 views, they don't even ever review it. They actually just booted any sort of like putting my video out there at all because I had the word mental health, anxiety, depression, addiction. These are all words that apparently now on YouTube, as of this month, they will not allow you to have, and thus they will not promote in your videos, and you cannot get paid off your videos. Also, the word dwarf shrimp. Now, this is demonetized. Any words like cocaine, so like when we were talking about smuggling routes, that can flag it because they have robots that listen to, they have AI. So, Fish Tropic, Fish Taco, peace. But yeah, so just it's frustrating that there's like so many reasons to have common sense, and I get that they're doing it out of an abundance of caution, but I feel like people are adults unless they're not, and then the adults are responsible for those little people and don't let them hang out on YouTube. But yeah, like if it says something about addiction and people click it, fine, like allow it to be promoted. That's the main problem, is that they synonymously link promotion with advertising, and most creators don't care if we make money off the video. We just want people who share the experience in life to have access to it. So the fact that the word sobriety, addiction, stuff like that flagged my video and got monetized, that's annoying. But the reason I'm upset is because it made it so that it stopped showing in anybody's stream. It stops promoting that unless you're like on my channel actively searching. Doing well, Joe, how's it going, buddy? JH Aquatics, check out his channel if you folks have not. Fish Tropic, how's it going? Likewise, there's a lot of great people with great channels in here, but JH, he's been to Peru. He's the hardest working man in fish business. He's always working on something, and I know someday we will all be bowing at his feet as he maybe Chris Lukop and him, or like who else would it be? We'll just say Chris Lukop right now, because he's taken wicked amazing fish photos and shrimp photos. But there will be a sword in a stone, or no, a fish net in a stone, and neither one of them will be able to break it free. And one day, JH Aquatics will raise that net out and go search the guts and gullies of the Caribbean for fish we've never seen. Dun dun dun. Okay, guys, I'm gonna get out of here soon. Thank you for hanging out and watching the Fishy Fish News. Fake name, you always get on at the end. I am sorry, bro. And I hope you're doing well up in BC. So yeah, there's not a link in this thing yet, but there will be a link in all my last like 4 videos to my shirts. I took down the shirt that had the error in printing, and if there's any other quirks that go on, since I don't get to see them first through Teespring, let me know. I'll take care of it. I can refund you as long as you don't order like 4 shirts, because I get like $3 to $8, as I was saying, depending on the item, and they take the like $20 off the item for printing it. And so they take that. I can easily refund you the money I made off of it, but like if you buy too many things, I probably can't refund you all the money they spent. But Ginger was a sweetheart as always. Thank you, Ginger. You rock. And Aquaballs, I need to add you as a mod. But yeah, that was the other thing. Also saying dwarf shrimp, like the actual type of shrimp they are, like they are classified as that. Dwarf shrimp. Oh yeah, JH stream on Amazon burning. Yes. Let me say something about that before I get going too, because this is really, really bad. The news is just deciding to make this an issue this week. I don't know why, but the Amazon has been burning straight for 20 or more years. From satellite, it's not a new thing. You can see the Amazon as well as Borneo, Java, Malaysia burning. And it's because people who don't have enough money to survive are burning the forests. And what happens when you burn a rainforest, it takes a lot of heat. And these rainforests have mulm. You know how your fish tank gets mulm in it? You see how it builds up a layer in a couple weeks? Imagine what rivers do for millions of years. And these loggers, they use heavy duty things like thermite and diesel to get these fires started, because you have to really try to burn down a rainforest. So they really soak like the roots and the ground in just massive amounts of flammable material, and then once it burns and it gets to a critical point, it'll burn all the trees that it comes into contact with. It creates a firestorm, sometimes with flames up to 400 feet, because the trees are 250 feet tall already. So it will burn through that, and it actually creates weather systems and smoke. It's just awful. It kills a ton of animals. But what's worse than that is it destabilizes the slopes of the hills along the rivers. They get piled up with silt. And yes, we do need carbon in the Amazon, in the water, but lightning strikes and things like that are plenty. We don't need to be burning the rainforest. And this isn't like an organized company necessarily that's doing it. It's the new government that has gotten in power in Brazil is very corrupt, very pro-business. It's a populist movement, and people there don't necessarily, I mean, they may love the rainforest or whatever, but they got to feed their family. And there's been a population explosion. There's been a move to the cities. Now the cities are getting, there's favelas all over. That's not new. But since the 70s, there's this major push to move out of the rural areas, go into the cities to find jobs. When they don't, they either join gangs or they work a ton of hours at menial jobs, and they're in this almost lower caste system, while there's millionaires in Brazil all over the place too that own these corrupt big companies. I'm not saying everyone, I'm just saying that's very common. And same with Indonesia, Malaysia, not Singapore, it doesn't have wilderness, it's a city. But Thailand, all these places are experiencing problems with this, and the Papua New Guinea, they're burning down the forest to make way for farmland or cattle land, both of which cause more problems, or they're doing illegal mining, and they're doing both at the same time. So they'll burn down the area so they can get to the land underneath it and mine, or they will burn it down and bring in cattle and then basically sell the dead animals that get burned. Usually they're burned beyond recognition. They're not even good as bushmeat or food anymore. But what the problem is that mulm I was talking about, that layer of just poop from fish, from plants, from animals that breaks down, and it's thousands of feet deep in some parts of the world, and it gets compressed into bogs and things like that. It breaks down over time. You get that's how we got oil, was from palm fronds and ferns and swamps being compressed, and the layers of that sludge with all that carbon in it getting compressed and just pressed over time. That's how we sample climate data in cores of lakes and rivers. And so what happens when the rainforest burns in a lot of places, specifically Indonesia is really awful, and there's a section of South America where it's really awful. But it actually catches that ground on fire. It catches the ground on fire, and in cases there have been fires burning for over a decade underground in the rainforest. Just like you know how peat moss steams, that can catch on fire and burn underground and smolder and release methane and carbon in amounts that are like, I don't want to misquote this, go look it up, but it's something like 80 times what a normal forest fire would burn, because it's thick, just it's like burning charcoal or like coal just open in the air because of all that carbon and methane and decaying matter that wouldn't have gotten started by a lightning fire. It only gets started by humans using, you know, petroleum byproducts, things like naphtha and oil and gas, diesel, wax, things like that, to just really keep a hot fire burning until it reaches that critical point. So yeah, thank you for reminding me to bring that to note. The weird part to me is this has been an ongoing issue that's been awful for years, and right now it is reaching a point where it's really bad. We're losing unfathomable unfathomable levels of destruction. You just can't imagine. I mean, areas like the size of Rhode Island are disappearing annually because of these causes. So, if not way bigger. So I don't know what we can do about that other than help developing nations become vegan. I don't know. Brazil's already fuel independent because of ethanol, but they're growing ethanol on farmland and ranch land that they burn from the rainforest. So if we could encourage them to maybe make palm fronds or something that are sweet into, something that's not a monoculture. Monocultures are destroying the earth. Okay, on that happy note, I have to go, you guys. But thanks for Fishy News. I know we get a little off track, but that's the point. We're just hanging out, chatting about fish and fish-related news. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. If you would like to support the channel more, Patreon is a great way to do that. There's a link below if you'd like to share pictures of your tanks and all your beautiful fish. Someone shared a picture of a long-finned albino, like red and white Oscar that just looked beautiful. I hadn't seen a long fin albino Oscar before that looked like that. So if you want to share, then do that. I also do have an Instagram, but I'm like old. I don't get how Instagram works yet. I will. I'll get there. And I hope to get a better camera soon. I'm shooting a wedding this weekend, and I was like, I'm gonna get a better camera, and they were like, oh, don't worry about it. And I was like, dang it. It was like one more thing that forced me not to just throw the money down, be broke for a while. That and the jaw surgery. So, yeah. So they took out a chunk of bone under here, and they grafted it back together under there, or like pulled it back together, and they put a piece of coral. Thanks, Aquatic Life. So they put a graft of coral matrix in there, which will actually blood vessels and things can grow back into. But this side, I wasn't as lucky. This side, all the teeth are gone. I have no molars on that side. And then that tooth they couldn't fix, nor any of that. So when the lightning hit me here, I was literally right where we are here, doing this, and the lightning hit right here. And so I took the biggest blast here. It broke my skull under my orbital bone there. But hopefully that's the last like bone-related surgery other than my spine. No, my spine's a big deal. But hopefully that's the last of that. But I got coral in my mouth now. It's my grill. Hopefully we're almost getting back to where they can get some implants and stuff like that, so that I can have a normal, not crooked freaking jaw either, because that doesn't feel so hot. But alright guys, have a wonderful night. Take care of your fish, your people, your fish people, and we'll be back for Fishy News later. We'll do a live stream probably Sunday, and Also, I have some videos that I just need to put out. I haven't finished them up yet. I recorded a bunch and I was like, oh, I want to add something. I deleted them, so yeah, stuff's coming out. But I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining us for the fishy news. Thank you so much, all my friends and fishy folks. Take care, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.